You still here?
Mange tak.
Welcome everyone on this Q&A with Danish director Anders Thomas Jensen, director of Riders of Justice, but of course he's quite famous already among the BIFF audience because of course his previous movies have already been quite successful at our festival with the audience. I'm thinking about Green Butchers and Adam's Apples. And of course, it would have been a riot to be able to invite you at the festival. Unfortunately, we're stuck behind these screens with terribly low resolution on top of that. So really sorry for that. But anyway, welcome. It's really nice to have you with us this year. So maybe we should get started with the first question. What is the initial idea for this movie? It's about people who've lost their foundation, lost their way, and try to find a new one in a weird way, I suppose.
Yeah, it is. You can say. I mean, it's actually it derived from a personal experience. I had this minor 40-year-old crisis, like most men do, where you look at your life suddenly and think, "Is this really it?" And am I spending enough time with my kids? And did I do the right thing? And sort of scratching a little depression, you can call it, and it's sort of when you work your way back from that, you sort of discover how for me anyway, it was so important to be able to see connections. I mean, as soon as I could see connections, my life made sense. I mean, you work, you make money, you are able to give your kid food. That's a good connection. But when you're really low, and you lose the overall sight of things, you sort of lose these connections, and you don't know where to go. And that was where, I mean, and then you can, as the film also shows, you can go. There's religion, there's alcohol, there's drugs, there's revenge. There's a lot
therapy, maybe. There's therapy, maybe as well. It was suggested.
Therapy is also an important part of it, right? So there are all these different ways to try to regain the ability to connect the dots so your life makes sense. So that's where the journey started. And I created Marcus, the main character, who's let's just say he's a depressed man hiding from his family in a faraway country, and suddenly he's forced to go back. And that's where the idea came from.
Well, when we see the character of the film, we can see that they have a dark side. They have also somehow some way a feel good kind of side. Now that you explain why the idea of the film, I wonder, consider yourself as a pessimistic person or optimistic person?
I think I am both. I mean, every morning I wake up, I'm in a good mood, but then during the day I've met so many annoying people that no, that my mood is not. No, that's a joke. I am both. I mean, it's I try to. Of course, I am Scandinavian, so I am a little pessimistic by nature. There's something dark about Scandinavia. A lot of Scandinavians, anyway, in my family, and we tend to think too much about the not so good things and try to always try to predict the outcome of things, which isn't always the way to go. Sometimes you just have to, live, surround yourself with people, love, and live. So that's the pessimistic side. However, when I do write a film, always I don't know what it is. During the process, I've tried many times to say, okay, I want to make it a tragedy this time. But during the process, I fall in love with all the characters, and I can never end a movie bad for some reason. I just can't do it. So
of course, projecting is the best way, the best path to anxiety, I suppose. But on the other hand, there's a bit of a contradiction there, don't you think? Because we always hear about how Denmark and the Danish people are the happiest people in the world. You know, you always score #1 in the rankings. What do you make of that?
Well, I think the main reason that we score high in those rankings are that we are unambitious. That's the main reason. We're sort of, and that's a bit pessimistic. That's a bit dark too. That we are ready to settle for less. I mean, we are ready to. I mean, here you will, if you serve the meal in a restaurant here in Denmark, that's not good. A lot of people will, including myself, will sometimes, yeah, we'll eat it. We don't want it. It's only food. Whereas an American would always just send it back and be wanting to have the prime of everything. So we have low expectations for life. And of course, when you have that, it's easy to be happy because you are not disappointed.
Staying on this Danish culture and Danish people, I read an article, an interview of Mads Mikkelsen saying that now Danish films are becoming very famous since Lars von Trier. And Lars von Trier opened a little bit the path for Danish films. You are yourself a very famous Danish director and screenwriter for years now. How do you explain the success of Danish film industry? What makes it different, or what attracts people to this kind of cinema?
I think Mads is partly right. I think a huge thing was the dogma movement, where, I mean, when I started out in the Danish film industry, all the directors, they were sort of keeping to themselves, you know, hiding their scripts from others. And if somebody else was successful, they were like, hated it. Where with Lars von Trier and the dogma movement, he sort of took his name and shared it with a lot of people and made it into this small community where everybody is, everybody has seen that if another director or screenwriter has success, it's good for everybody. It's not just, I mean, it's good for the industry as a whole. And that's part of it. Another part is we have great funding. There's really great funding, and you can basically, again, if you compare to the States or other places, you can basically do what you want to do. You can very easily, compared to other places, have your story and your vision done without too many people interfering with it. That's also part of it. And but there's several other. I think also, I mean, the last 10 or 15 years, I think we've been blessed with not having to respond to all the political correctness that some artists are suffering from in other parts of the world, where we're still, there's a freedom to do whatever you want, which is really nice, and which of course makes great movies.
Also, this sense of community that you mentioned, I think it's something that we maybe as a viewer can feel when we see your movies, and also, of course, Riders of Justice. Is it one of the reasons why you can sort of stick together and keep such a huge superstar as Mads Mikkelsen now, and keeping him on board for this kind of project?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's I don't know if that's yeah, I think they like the actors and the crew, because also, I mean, the photographers, and I think everybody loves to go home and do this this shared vision where you I mean, where you know, it's where the only focus is on the story, basically, where it's not these huge budget movies where there's so many other things going on. But of course, in this case, I mean, Mads and Nikolai, and we started out like 25 years ago almost. So it is sort of like a family reunion. Also, it's good to have a break from family sometimes. So I mean, you can sense that when we get together and do a film, it's like going back to, you know, it's like going back to, how do you say, like a camp for a school camp for 7 weeks, and everybody enjoys it. So I think that's why they do it.
Well, Mads Mikkelsen and Nicolas Lee Kaas are the two main actors in your film. You work with them often, but for this film especially, did you have those actors in mind since the beginning, or it came a little bit later in the process?
I mean, I had Matt in the beginning. I had Nikolai. Nikolai, I moved around in different characters within the movie. I had him in the movie, but I ended up putting him in Otto's part. So yes, and I always. It's also a bit boring, but every time I write something for myself to direct, I will think of actors, and a lot of times it'll be those guys. It could also be. Sometimes I use a non-fictional character like an uncle, or somebody I met. But most of the times they will sneak into my because they're really good actors. I mean, there's just so many advantages with having them on board.
Jeg var med samme tog som din kone og datter. Hvad ved? Jeg synes, du har krav på at vide, at det ikke var en ulykke. Hvis du bare lukker røven lige nu.
I think one of the strong points, as usual, I would say in your movies, is of course the hilarious dialogues and the dry humor, of course, the way the actors seem able to say something that's absolutely not funny, and yet somehow it becomes hilarious. So kudos for that, by the way. But how crafted is this? Do you really have to prepare for that? Because they always say humor is like the hardest thing to achieve, in fact, or is there some freedom for the actors to actually go spontaneous sometimes?
Very little. I mean, once we shoot, there's hardly. Of course, if somebody gets a brilliant idea on set, of course you would be stupid not to take it. So of course I do that. But I mean, time is so precious once you start shooting. So I'll normally do it like this. I will do a draft of the script. I'll send it to Matt, Nikolai, and get their response. I will do a rewrite, go to a producer, and once we have funding, we will sit down and have some readings where they come with all their inputs. And here, there's a lot. They take a lot. I mean, a lot of things happen here with the characters and the dialogue, and then that's basically it. I'll go home and write the shooting draft, and we'll start shooting. But that's how and then we shoot what's there.
Hvis du kunne hacke os ind i Fitness World server, så ville der være en mulighed. Fitness World. Fitnesskæde. Nej, stenhuggeriet i landet. Du skal tale pænt til mig, ellers så gider jeg ikke hjælpe. Hvad vil du bruge det til? Jeg vil hævne min kone. Har du slået nogen ihjel før? Lad os bare være stille inden så. Jeg vil bede om at finde alt, hvad jeg kan for rockegruppen Riders of Justice.
The fact that you worked many times with them makes it easier to find this humor that you put in the film and to work with them during the shooting process.
Yes. I mean, of course, there's a lot of the characters this film is a bit special with Matt in mind but if you take like Men and Chicken, the character there is sort of, we built that character on Elias on top of Ivan from Adam's Apples, and that was sort of built on Sven from the Green Butchers. So it is an ongoing thing where we're sort of developing things. You can't say that I didn't bring much of characters in here. There's some other stuff that you could say, but of course they are. I would say, I mean, they know me so well. I mean, it's so efficient because they know where to go. They know the universe. So we hardly have to say anything to each other. We know where to go, and we just and also they do force me. I mean, they give me the courage to go new places that I perhaps wouldn't, because some of the material is a bit sensitive. I mean, we are on the border of what you can, finding the balance between drama and comedy is very hard. And in this film, it borders very, very much. There are places in this movie, without spoiling, where it's, more than before in my movies, I think, that it's a very thin line. And if you don't get the tone right, it can crash completely. And of course, it's a huge advantage to have a team that knows the humor and the universe so well.
Yeah, you do get a sense that not everyone would be able to pull this off. Right? You're going pretty far, it's true. Can you elaborate a little bit more about what you just said about not bringing in the characters or new characters completely? So they're really like an ongoing project, you say?
Yeah, I mean, there's sort of a break here between, I mean, for me, this movie reminds me the most of my first movie, Flickering Lights, where you can say the three in between are more, also they take place in a universe that's a really created universe. It's like a reality plus 30%. Where this is actually, it could almost take place. I mean, Mads' and his daughter's story, Marcus and Matilda's story in the movie are completely naturalistic, almost. But you know, I mean, it could almost be a Sunday night TV show on BBC, like a father-daughter relation, or a Susanne Bier movie. So that's where I haven't done that before, and therefore the characters here are also more grounded in reality than, it's not right to say, but there's a different tone in them than I've been before. So for me, this is all the way back to the roots of the first movie, where the three others, what's it called, Men and Chicken, Adam's Apples, and the Green Butchers, the characters there are sort of they're traits from different characters brought on to the next movie.
Hvor mange medlemmer de har, hvad de er straffet for, hvad de er mistænkt for, navne, adresser. Er det noget, I kan, uden at det kan spores? De har fattet det nemmeste for dig. Det er det nemmeste for mig i verden.
Hvad der sker for?
Ja, det er jo fordi han...
I er psykolog, ikke?
Det må man sige, vi er.
But talking about this more realistic film that you made this time, you said that the idea was coming from a little depression you had with a middle-aged crisis, but you also have a lot of other ideas like PTSD or conspiracy theory, something very actual now with the pandemic that we live in. Is it something that you crossed your mind, or you made this movie much before what we live now?
I made it before. The COVID. We stopped shooting on the 5 days before Denmark closed down. So I mean, COVID wasn't a thing during the whole. But it's. I mean, during the interviews I've made afterwards, and of course, I can see how there's a lot of things in the movie that actually speaks to the whole idea about the meaning of life being coming together as a group, creating your own little family where you can, I mean, that's really what we need. A lot of people, I think, are longing for here and now. And the whole, this about being isolated and left alone, depressions and psychic, I mean, you know, vulnerability is that all themes that are highly, but that's, I mean, it's a coincidence, you know. I'm not. I didn't know COVID was coming, but it's. But I do also think that once you're dealing with such universal themes that we are here, you can read a lot of. I mean, a lot of stuff into it in the movie. I mean, something completely else could have happened with the world, and we could have read that into this movie as well.
We were in an age of conspiracy theories even before COVID anyway, weren't we? I would like to ask something about a more technical aspect of the movie, and actually most of your movies, and probably even most Danish movies. I don't know if I'm onto something here, but the photography seems to have something in common. Is there such a thing as a typical Danish hue photography, maybe something slightly bluish in the image?
Well, we are not blue in this one. I mean, there is this Scandinoir that's been dominating some of the TV shows and some of the thrillers that has this bluish, I mean, where they graded in the bluish, I don't know, but I don't think this film has it. I mean, it's definitely not a blue movie, but you would have to explain to me what you are thinking about, which like common denominators you're talking about, because I don't really see them.
No, it's hard to put a finger on it. It's just a tendency that I feel about this, and I'm not a technical expert either. It's just something about the image which seems familiar, and I wanted to see if there was if I was onto something here.
Perhaps there is. I haven't spotted it. I think there's a vast diversity in the films that are shot in Denmark.
Færdig. Anden klassen. Ingen slår nogen ihjel her. Jeg tror nogle gange, at folk med problemer har det med at finde sammen.
Still on the Danish culture, you said a little bit earlier that what was easy in Denmark was to have funding for a film. You made a lot of independent film, and now you've grown famous. You were one of the screenwriters for the Dark Tower, an adaptation of the book of Stephen King. What is the difference being a Danish independent director or working for a big US production?
Oh, there's so many. I mean, there's so many differences. First of all, you have to get it right. If you're Danish, you don't do. I mean, I think a lot of the studio movies, they have reshoots and they calculate that in. And if you do a small Danish movie, you don't get a reshoot. You have to make sure you get it right the first time, which is a good thing, I think. But then there are. I mean, the main difference for me is that it's the director's vision. I mean, I think that very few directors in Hollywood, of course, some of the really, really big ones, they can they can keep their vision within the studio system. But it's very hard because I understand why there's so much money at stake and people bring in so much money, they want a say. So they want to, be sure that their money will return, which not always is a good idea because that will be the exact reason why it won't. So the main thing is freedom. Like I said, I mean, is that you can basically the triangle of a screenwriter, director, and producer. You can basically have those three and do a film in Denmark because of the funding system. You don't have to have. Of course, you'll get notes from TV stations and co-producers depending on your budget, but if you keep it like a normal budget like this, you will be very, very free to do stuff that, I mean, even stuff that there are scenes in this movie that would scare investors, that are bordering on might chase somebody away and also might cost you awards and stuff, so because it's too provocative. So and they might, some producers might cut them out or say take it out or we're gone in the States, but not here, which is nice.
It is, but do you fear that there might be an evolution in that as the industry moves on or evolves, or is it just a cultural thing?
Well, I think TV now. I think the industry. Basically, you can see the Hollywood industry now. I mean, I'm not talking about the independent Hollywood, but the studios. It's. I think I can't remember if it was Scorsese or who was. It's people with masks and I mean with superpowers. That's all the big movies are about superheroes, right? Where TV gives this freedom. There's a lot of freedom in TV where very interesting storytelling is happening on the TV side. So I think that cinema has to, in order to survive, they have to, up the stakes and be more bold and take these chances.
Great. I have, I think, probably last question about the movie itself. But still, of course, we're trying not to spoil the content of the movie here because some of our viewers haven't seen it yet, most probably. But it's about the music choice. I think we're, I don't know, quite far away from the Bee Gees that we got in Adam's Apples. There seems to be a really definite choice this time.
Well, it also was in Adam's Apples, but this is how do you say it's. I mean, we use a lot of hymns. There's this like a choral theme, like church theme, which, because I mean, God, it's a film about the big questions in life. It's a film about what is the meaning of life. It's the film about chaos theories and connecting the dots and about God and a lot of other things. So I mean, religion somehow plays a huge part in this film, underlying in all the characters and scenes. So it went natural to actually it was my editors who tried to put on choral, these choirs, and I sort of fell in love with it, and we kept it. So there's a lot of singing boys and choruses there, which I like, which is of course different from anything I've done before.
It is quite different, but it sounds beautiful. Yeah, I have to say, it fits perfectly.
Well, we talked about a little bit the film without spoiling it. So maybe a question more about your work as director. We have in the audience people who are really interested in working in the film industry as a Danish director, but also someone who worked for a big US production. If you have an advice to give to people who want to be a screenwriter, director, what would it be?
This foremost advice would be get your screenplay made somehow. See it on tape, screen, TV, because a screenplay is not a finished work of art. It's a working tool, and once you see the stuff you write, once you see somebody put it to life, you learn a lot. That's where because I remember when I first started out, I wrote a lot of screenplays where I never saw them because nobody wanted to do them, you know. So if you're starting out, get them done. Find, even at like low budget, somehow do it on your phone. Get them done. That's the best advice I could give.
In the same theme, do you think that it's easier to write your own screen play and then direct it, or you prefer really having someone else to direct your screenplay?
Oh, it's I mean, it's never the same twice, which is why this job is so lovely. I mean, the stories I direct myself, I couldn't bear the thought of anybody else doing it. On the other hand, I don't think I could, with few exceptions, I would not be able to direct. I probably could, but they wouldn't be as good as. I mean, there are other directors that are better at other stuff when I write. So I mean, I can. Yeah, that's probably the best way to put it. So it's two different things for me.
Min mor er psykolog og er til rådighed, hvis det endelig er.
Glem computer. Du er ikke afstumpet, Mathilde. Men du er tyk.
Hvad?
Ja, du er en lille tyk spejepølse.
Der er noget, der er helt galt.
Du får ikke din kone tilbage ved at gøre det. Jeg stopper bilen, når jeg brækker det næste, jeg lover dig. Skal vi nu ikke bare få det her overstået som team, så vi kan komme hjem og få banankage? Præcis. Jeg siger bare, hun er død, og hun kommer ikke igen.
What would be next for you? What do you have in line or in store?
I just finished a script with Nikolaj Arcel, Danish director. So what I'm doing now is I will be working as a screenwriter again. I'm doing a couple of projects for other directors, and then hopefully I will, within the next year or two, find a story for myself to direct again and get back to directing. But right now my plan is to get I have 4 kids that's been trapped in the house for 4 months. My plan is to get life back and like everybody else. That's the main thing.
The different families, right? There's one family and then there's the other, sort of.
It's funny, you make a film about how important it is to surround yourself with family, and then COVID comes along and force you to be together with your family way too much. So you're like, okay, now I had enough now.
So if you had a limitless budget and you could work with anyone you want, any actor you want, any screenwriter you want, any cinematographer you want, what would be your dream project?
Is it living or dead also? Can I choose?
I think it can be pure fantasy, the idea itself.
Well, then I would. I don't know, but there's so much I would do. I would love to do a film with I would love to do a film with David Lean. I would really like to do a film with David Lean and a film with Billy Wilder. I would like to just have the chance of, writing a script with Billy Wilder and just being assistant director for David Lean. I would. That would be nice, and perhaps Spencer Tracy should be in. He should have a large part in it.